Yo, ho, ho. What is up, people? Scream Week rolling on. Here we are, Scream 4. We're on Scream 4 now. Scream 4 was Wes Craven's last directorial project. It's the last thing Wes Craven directed was Scream 4. That's a hell of a thing to leave as your last thing is the franchise that revitalized you for the last generation. He does Scream in 96 and Wes gets completely revitalized and everything that Wes is known for. A lot of it has to do with Scream, honestly. Obviously, he will forever be known as the godfather of Freddy Krueger, the creator of Freddy Krueger. But what I do like about Wes is his ability to always fit in with the time. Like in the 70s, obviously, those films, Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left, those were a product of that time for sure. Nightmare on Elm Street, 100% product of the 80s, as was Deadly Friend. And Wes's ability to do something like People Under the Stairs in 91 to latch on and really understand and grasp like the redlining and things that were going on in urban culture, and for him to make a movie like People Under the Stairs, which I think has to be like it's a top 5 film for him. I rank that one probably at number 3 of his best work. It's so hard to say. It's so hard to like numberize or rank his work because everything's so great. And there's really only a few things that I'm not huge on for Wes's work. Serpent and the Rainbow, obviously amazing. Last House on the Left. He did so much. And to come back to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise in 94 and do the whole meta New Nightmare take is something. The more time goes on, the more I think people appreciate New Nightmare, what it did and what it really brought to the genre at the time. That was kind of a dead, like the slasher movie and like the craze of like a big horror villain like Michael Myers, like Jason Voorhees, like Freddy Krueger was kind of dead. It was all but dead, honestly. And that was like the beginning ilk of like, okay, Wes has got plenty of gas in the tank, and boy did he to take Kevin Williamson's work for the writing and Scream, and to put the Wes Craven flavor on it. And he directs the first 4 Scream films. I didn't think we were ever going to get a Scream film outside of Wes doing them. So when they announced that they were doing one without him, I mean, I have my thoughts on that. You'll see that in tomorrow's video. But Scream 4, there was a lot of anticipation about this because it was 11 years after the last Scream. Scream 3 comes out 2000. April 15th, I think it was, 2011, Scream 4 comes out. My friends and I were fanatical Wes Craven fans at that point. I mean, we were Wes Craven fans prior to that, and with the Scream movies and growing up. Everyone grew up with Freddy Krueger, our age, late 30s. Eric, early 40s, he's old. And there's Wes Craven, one of the godfathers, I always say. You'll see plenty of videos on it. If you listen to the podcast, Sight and Sound podcast that we've done since 2017, hear us talk about the big 4. Not the big 4 of thrash, but the big 4 of horror. The big 4 of horror is John Carpenter, Wes Craven, George Romero, Tobe Hooper. Those are the big 4 of horror. Those guys have provided more for horror than any director by far, especially when we're talking American directors and American filmmakers and just producers of horror content. George in 1968 creates the modern American zombie. Wes not only, starts like an exploitation run with The Hills Have Eyes, and before that, Last House on the Left, and then does Freddy Krueger, and then does Scream, big, huge building blocks. And then you got George Romero, obviously, like I said, did the 68, started the American modern zombie, does Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead's revered as the greatest zombie film of all time. Day of the Dead with the practical effects, and George doing Creepshow with Stephen King in the early 80s, and whenever that was, 82. And then Tobe doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre, revered as probably one of the 1 and 2 of greatest horror movies ever. Usually people say Night of the Living Dead, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And they're not wrong with either answer. And honestly, you wouldn't be wrong with saying Nightmare on Elm Street. You wouldn't be wrong with saying The Thing or Halloween especially. And then you talk Carp with Halloween. It's crazy. Like Carp literally is like Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China, They Live. Carp's run he's the most prolific by far. Anyway, Wes was very relevant in the 70s, very relevant in the 80s. Probably, he launched the horror villain of all time with Freddy Krueger. And then he has the most hip and popular horror villain of all time in the Ghostface character. And the glory about the Ghostface character is anybody can put on the mask and then they're Ghostface. So the character of Ghostface could truly live on forever. It doesn't matter who plays him. They're using the same Roger Jackson voice recorder, and it's the classic Fun World Easter Unlimited Ghostface Scream mask. It could truly live on forever. There is no end in sight. And anything can live on forever, but it's most plausible for Scream to live on forever, just due to anybody can play him. It's not as revered as like Robert Englund playing Freddy Krueger, or even Kane Hodder. More people have played Jason after Kane Hodder. Kane Hodder is obviously one of the most revered. Ted White as well, R.I.P. Playing Jason in the final chapter. Anyway, we're getting off in a tangent. That's what we do. Enjoy. But Scream 4, there was a lot of hype about it because it was so long without a Scream. Now the next biggest gap between Scream films before this, from 2011 or 2000 to 2011, was 2011 till 2022. That was another 11 years. So 2 11-year gaps from 3 to 4 and then 4 to 5. And no, I will never call it Scream 2022. It's Scream 5. Should have been called Scream 5 from the get-go. Like, the studio has no clue what they're doing. Same thing calling Halloween 2018 just Halloween. It makes no sense. Anyway, Wes coming out and doing this, I think this film, I liked it a little less upon rewatching it. But even saying that, it's like pizza. Even when it's the shitty, Tombstone one, it's still pizza. It's enjoyable. And I don't think it's shitty. That might be, I might be overstating and saying it's shitty. It's not shitty by any stretch. It was very enjoyable, super fun watching it. My biggest critique about the film is that it was shot with this haze, and it was like a stylistic choice, I think, that Wes chose, and it was to make everything look like almost dreamy. I don't know, but there's certain scenes where it's very off-putting. That's my only real complaint visually, or how the movie was shot. Other than that, I think it did a great job of bringing Sydney back in the fold, introducing Sydney's cousin, Emma Roberts, as the killer. Was genius. The jealousy of like Sydney has gotten all the attention. Like, fuck this bitch. I'm gonna fucking. She is the. I'm going after her. I love that. And it's something that I think was needed after 11 years. We needed something fresh and fun. And you got Rory Culkin in it, and you got Hayden Panettiere. She's great as Kirby. Like, Kirby comes back in part 6. Might be the only shining part of part 6, really. And the opening scene, super meta, like kill within a kill within a kill. Super fun. Courtney Cox and David Arquette reprise their roles. And I love the idea of there being a horror club that's obsessed with the Stab franchise at the high school. That's so awesome. The Stabathon that they're having, invite only. They get Sydney to, Gail's trying to weasel her way into the horror club to get a little intel and insight into who the killer could be. And, they get Sydney because Gail's not a big enough star. They want the real star, which is Sydney. And the whole idea of the horror club is genius. And just the dynamic between like the two kids that do the horror club, that's just fun fodder that I love that they brought to Scream 4. And Hayden Panettiere as Kirby, like, that's what really movies like Scream 5 and 6, that's what they miss to me, is a character that I like, that I want to see live, that I want to see do good. Other than like the original cast of Scream, and maybe Jerry O'Connell in part 2. I don't know that I really cared whether anybody else lived or died in the rest of 2 and the rest of 3. And Jamie Kennedy, obviously, that goes without saying. Like, Jamie Kennedy should have never died. In my opinion, he should have been in the series at all times. If anything, you would kill him in 4, you kill him in, one of the later ones. But they're keeping his legacy alive with his niece and nephew, right? So it's something I think I really do appreciate, being able to not take yourself serious, because Scream 4 is a little goofy, not as goofy as Scream 3. And you're going to have, as a franchise goes on, there's going to be comedic elements to it, whether intentional or unintentional. But Scream 4 really nailed like a vibe at the time. I think it's not holding up as much as I wanted it to, but that's not to say that it's, that might just be me changing my flavor and taste. I'm a Baskin Robbins guy sometimes. Sometimes I like a different flavor. But it's not a bad film. But I did find it funny rewatching 3 and 4 that I like 3 a little more and I like 4 a little less. And I don't even think that 3 is better than 4. It's not. Definitely not. But the whole aspect of the horror club, like that hits home, just being a horror fan and stuff like that. That's something my friends and I would have wanted to have as a horror club in high school. Obviously we didn't, and we probably wouldn't have in our high school. But so much fun. This one, great dynamic. The characters in 4 are super likable. Only thing I really didn't like in Scream 4, besides the hazy camera, was that the Nico Tortella, or whatever his name is, the kid that plays Trevor, when he said something like, "Oh, you want to see something scary?" Ugh! That was the cringiest, worst thing ever. I don't know why. It was really bad. Aside from that, it was a good, serviceable sequel. That maybe isn't. I don't think people got it as much at the time. I know Scream fans, myself, my friends, we loved it at the time. But I think there's definitely a market of people that didn't get it or didn't like it that much. But to each their own. It did okay in the box office. But yeah, Scream 4, I think, having the idea of Sydney's younger cousin being upset because Sydney is so beloved and she's the victim and it's always about Sydney and everything is like, that's a very not reasonable. There's no reasonable reason to become Ghostface. But that's a very like understandable plight that a younger cousin could have. Now her reasonings for, or her going around and becoming Ghostface and murdering people, that's not the best route to go. I mean, maybe spread a cruel rumor or something about your cousin. Don't do that. But yeah, I like that whole angle. It was super fun, and it served as Wes's final directorial work. And if you haven't seen My Soul to Take, that came out a year prior to this, and I think that's a really underrated film. And I think that is, I like that as Wes's one of Wes's final projects too. I think that really captures what Wes was, and always being having his finger on the youth in some fashion. Maybe it wasn't always pinpoint, but it was always pretty good. And I felt like Wes's films always related to youth more than any other horror director, in my opinion. I think that's why Nightmare on Elm Street was so liked and loved in the 80s. I think that's why Scream was so liked and loved then and now. Are those the character development and just the way his ability to just capture magic and chemistry, and Wes did that better than most, honestly. But yeah, Scream 4, man, it was super fun. Next episode's going to be on 5 and 6. We're combining them into one big shit show because that's what kind of 5 and 6 are. You're going to hear my gripes, my grievances, but I'm glad you're sticking with me for all the Scream content this week. I'm sure some people are screamed out, getting ready for Scream 7 on Friday. So a couple days away. So it is what it is, as they say. And yeah, thanks. Give us a subscribe, a like, hit the notifications button. Let us know you're listening. Comment. Say something. Call me an idiot. Say the film's terrible. Say the film's great. Say, why are you doing all the Scream content? Stop. Say anything, literally. Just hit that like button. Put a thumbs up on there. Hit a subscribe. Hit the notifications. Be a friend. Be a friend. I want to start doing lives. Once we, the following gets more up there. I would love to do a live and have some participation. Like I said, I got some posters and I got a bunch of shit. I got some Wes stickers. I got some podcast stickers. I'll have some Heart Guide Media merch soon. I'd love to give some stuff away on some lives and have some fun with anybody that's caring to watch. So go over to Instagram at Heart Guide Media too. You can find all of our postings there. And yeah, Scream Week, baby. Here we are. And Scream 4. What do you think of Scream 4? Where do you rank it in the pantheon of the franchise? Let us know below. And yeah, we'll see you for 5 and 6.